It was also making me want gelato so badly.
Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today. And for this video, we are going to be doing a NetGalley reading vlog. Alright, before I get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, are you looking forward to these books? Are they on your TBR? Am I adding them to it now? Let's talk about it. So, as per usual, thank you so much to NetGalley, the publishers, and the authors for free copies of these books in exchange for an honest review. Was so excited going into these babies. So, starting at the top, both of these books came out on September 2nd, meaning they're now available. Go get your hands on them. Highly recommend. So first up is It Had to Be Him by Adib Khorram, and this, I saw 𝗖cie Second Chance Romance and pretty much immediately added it to my TBR. In this one, we were following Ramin, who unfortunately proposes to his boyfriend only to get shot down for being too boring. And so in response, decides to book a spur-of-the-moment trip to Italy. But while there, he actually ends up running into Noah, his high school friend and high school crush, who now is dealing with some of his own personal issues. He has a ex-wife, a wonderful child, but unfortunately his ex-wife is thinking about moving to Italy, and that's sort of complicating their situation. While Ramin is convinced that nothing is going to come of this, Noah is finally realizing that, oh, those feelings he had in high school, yeah, that was his own crush. And of course, all of those feelings come rushing back in as they continue to run into each other in Italy. On the opposite side, I was lucky enough to get a highly anticipated release, which was Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This is set in the same universe as her Letters of Enchantment series and is kind of a prequel following one of the gods of this world, actually. We follow Matilda, the youngest god of her clan in the Underlings, but she has the ability to be the herald for the gods. However, like most pantheons, it is very dangerous for her as she comes into her magic, and she has to learn it is not easy to trust any of her fellow god beings. Someone she does start to trust, however, is Vincent, a mortal boy who she visits in his dreams, and a friendship forms between the two of them as children. However, events unfortunately rip them apart, and 10 years later, they are reintroduced as Vincent is the lord of his land and about to go to war against his uncle. But Matilda has help to offer. I know I'm not the only one who is highly anticipating this. I love Rebecca Ross's writing. I loved the Letters of Enchantment series, and I was so excited going into this one. So on that note, cue the vlog.
Good morning, y'all. So I'm doing some reading sprints on my Patreon, but I have been working on It Had to Be Him by Adib Khorram for quite some time now, and I realized I needed to film an update. I'm about 35% in, and I'm really enjoying this. Like I said with the synopsis, one of our main characters, Raheem, unfortunately gets broken up with for being boring, and in a heartbroken state ends up booking a trip to Milan, and then while in Milan ends up running into his high school crush, Noah, who is there with his ex-wife and his son because his ex-wife is thinking about taking over her family's like wine store, and so it's possible she'll be taking their son with her, and they're seeing if he will enjoy living there. It's so cute. It is so cute already. I really enjoyed that there's this ongoing misunderstanding on both sides just because like they haven't known each other for 10 plus years at this point. Raheem naturally thinks Noah is straight because that's who he knew him to be, was this very sweet straight guy, unfortunately. Whereas Noah is actually bi, but thinks Raheem is still so heartbroken over this breakup that he isn't picking up on the flirting Noah's putting down. But it's been really entertaining, and there's just like I don't even really want to call it banter, but just like really sweet interactions between the two of them. Any moment we have seen between Raheem and Noah's son Jake is so precious, so cute. And Noah is kind of struggling to like figure out a new independence for himself now that he doesn't have this marriage and he has cut his parents off, so he's kind of got some background issues. This is very therapy positive, although both of them do have stuff they're working through. So like I said, Noah has had some problems with his parents in the past, whereas Raheem has had serious issues with his body image, and he mentions having body dysmorphia a time or two. And so I really like that they are dealing with realistic life issues, but then also like personal issues as well, and all of these things are are being taken into account when it comes to the romance. I'm really liking that as it's slowly developing, because it is still slow. Like I'm 35% done, and they are still very much just like friends who are catching up. But we also have the occasional little flashback to them when they were in high school and just seeing how they developed a little friendship in the first place. And it's really cute to see things from Noah's side, because he hasn't figured out his sexuality yet, and so he doesn't understand why he's so inherently protective of Raheem. But like as an adult, he now knows it's because he had a crush on him. Really cute. Whereas on the opposite side, Raheem was deep in the closet, knew he had a crush on Noah, but couldn't understand why Noah, who fit more in with the guys who were bullying him, was always so nice to him. And it's really sweet. I'm really liking it. But then at the same time, like the writing itself is so funny, and it's because it comes across like a little crude at times, but it feels like it's very unfiltered thoughts, and I actually really appreciate it because it feels really authentic. Like this seems like how people actually would be acting and thinking and things without like putting on this filter for a romance book. So yeah, it's going so well. The setting of Italy, I've been to Venice, but they are in Milan. But like what I know, what is comparable is definitely there. I really do feel like I'm settled into this world. The way wine and food is described is just delicious. I am gonna continue reading because I'm on reading sprints, and because I honestly just don't want to stop reading this book.
Hello, my friends. So I meant to update before this point. I did. Instead, I am at 80% into It Had to Be Him, and I am liking this so much. It is so freaking cute. I love how the author continuously keeps bringing up the internal struggles that each character is having and how that is impacting this budding new relationship, but how the other character keeps like kind of reinforcing a healthy discussion around it. Whenever Raheem kind of slips into a moment of struggling with his body image, and Noah just tries to reinforce like, it's okay, you don't have to be perfect, but you're what I want, and that's what matters. And it was so sweet and just really reaffirming and adorable. But then like on the opposite side, when Jake is really struggling with his identity as a dad, wanting what's best for his son, but also obviously like wanting his son to be with him, and he's labeling himself as selfish, and how Raheem calls him out on it and is like, no, you are a good parent, like you are doing everything you can to take care of him. In fact, like I almost feel as though you have a bit of a martyr complex. And just again, I'm really liking this. I think the author has done a really great job of making both of these characters very, very well fleshed out. I do think maybe things are moving a little fast. It's definitely not insta love. I mean, they do take a little bit to get there, but at this point they have maybe known each other again for like 2 weeks, and both of them are kind of starting to think, I could be in love with this guy. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. Maybe could blame that on like the endorphins, the honeymoon phase, the fact that they're on vacation, any of that sort of stuff. But even still, it's so cute. It's really sweet. Like I said, I do just think the author has this very authentic, unfiltered way of writing also that I very, very much appreciate. It just makes everything feel like it's not too serious, especially given the fact that there are some heavier themes woven into the story. I really, really like that. The spicing, I would probably put this at like a 3 chili peppers right now. It's pretty hot. It did have a little bit of like some kinkier stuff, and the way it was presented was so wholesome at the same time, but also like really ridiculous and funny. It's doing a great balancing job of being just a really good rom-com. I'm loving this. I absolutely need this author to write more adult romance stories because this is so good. I also would not complain if we saw a little bit more of Raheem's best friends, because anytime we see some of them, I love them. I want Arya to have his own book. Fazan is already in a relationship with his boyfriend David, but like I want them to have their own book. They're so great. I'm really loving everything about this again. They did go to visit a different part of Italy. I don't remember exactly where it was. The setting does continue to just pull you into the story. This one, it's a little less so because by this point they're like really in their romance bubble, so it's not quite as important, but it's still there and it's still reinforcing the Italy vibes. Loving that. Just across the board, this is so good. Like there's a reason I am binging through this. It's not just because I'm reading it for my Patreon readathon. I'm also just binging through this because I'm enjoying it so much. It is also making me want gelato so badly. One negative thing I guess I could say about the writing is it does seem as though there are certain like lines that the author has reused a few times. are like certain similes that he has reused a few times. And so I guess it feels a little repetitive in that way, but that's like me really, really being picky. It's something I've picked up, but I think it's also because I'm reading this so fast. If I wasn't binging through this, I don't think I would have picked up on that really. But again, that's me just like really being picky, because everything else I have to say about this book is so inherently positive because it is so freaking cute. I also did want to point out, I really like the way Noah and his ex Angela's relationship has been presented, because they aren't in love with each other anymore, but they do have a fairly decent friendship, and they're still very much there for each other and trying to be good co-parents with one another. But I do like that there's been a moment here or there where you can tell there is still some tension because they are no longer a couple. Angela does something that is a little selfish and accuses Noah of being the selfish one, and Noah like wants to fight it, but at the same time kind of is like hesitant to do so because of his prior experience in their relationship with how she would handle these sorts of situations. So I thought that was actually really, really well showcased with this sort of a like character dynamic. I also do really like how Jake is being used in their relationship, where Raheem has known from the start that like if this is going to become something, like he is a package deal, and he has such a sweet relationship with Jake. I think Jake does come across like an actual 9-year-old. I mean, this is roughly about the age of one of my nieces, and I also think it's actually pretty well done that we're seeing certain moments from Jake where, though we're not seeing through his perspective, we can definitely tell like he is going through something, and I'm wondering if maybe that's going to pop up later in the book, especially when it comes to making this decision as to whether he and Angela are going to move to Italy or if they're going to stay in the States with Noah. So really, the character work across the board in this it's been so good. I'm just having a great time. It's adorable. It's sweet. It's funny. It's spicy. 10 out of 10 right now, y'all. Hey y'all, so I have officially finished out It Had to Be Him by Adib Khorram, and this was adorable. So cute. I did really like this. How the book wrapped out though, I do want to say, I feel like it got a little bit too focused on spicy times, and we didn't really get to see these characters talking out the logistics of how they're going to make a relationship work when they're not purely in vacation mode. Because I mean, there's a big difference in the kind of person you are when you're on vacation versus like everyday life. And I kind of wish we would have seen a little bit of that, maybe them talking about plans for the future, or even having a little time skip to when they actually are back in the States and like figuring out how they're making a relationship work. I think we could have sacrificed one of those sexy scenes for something like that. Along with it, this does move a little fast for my taste, honestly. There's just the logic bit in the back of my brain keeps reminding me they've only really been back in each other's lives for like roughly 2 weeks. And as I said, they've only known each other in this like a vacation setting. I'm not sold on them being in love. When they're starting to say I love you, I did not feel they were there yet. So then also like the events of the epilogue were kind of hard for me, just because again, it's a little fast for my taste. Even if they did know each other when they were teenagers, like it's not quite the same. I did enjoy this, but I wish there would have been some stuff worked out there at the end a little bit. Though I had my issues with the epilogue, the family elements of it were adorable. I really enjoyed that. I do think maybe we could have seen a little bit more of Angela and Noah talking out some of their issues that they've had. There was a really great scene with the third act conflict where they finally kind of started to acknowledge that. But again, I wish it would have been expanded upon, given the fact that the start of this book has such great establishment of the characters. I kind of wish we would have had a little bit more time to really see the growth they've experienced throughout the book. I mean, it's also a romance, so we're here for the romance, and I did really, really like these two together. They were super cute. I think I said like 3 chili peppers in my last update. No, I would definitely bump this to 4. Definitely was pretty spicy. Like I said, a little bit and to a detriment. Even still, really liked this. I don't necessarily think I would say this is a new favorite because I did have those issues there at the end, but I would still give this a very strong 4-star. I did really enjoy it. It's not quite to the same level of love from me, but I do feel like this reminded me of my reading experience with Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. Just a really good time with the characters. I fell in love with both of them, and I felt like the relationship we saw established was so good. It was was so cute. Like, I definitely highly recommend it. Even though I did have that issue at the end, it was still such a good time.
Hey y'all, so I have hit 24% into Wild Reverence, and I've officially hit the point now where it's like, oh shit, I am sucked in. I cannot wait to keep reading this. I was reading on my lunch break and you have no idea how hard it was to stop myself so I could go back to work. It was really, really difficult because I want to keep going. I just hit Act 2. So we've officially had all of our setup, we've had the establishment of our world, and also a little bit of where the plot's gonna be going from here. I'm really liking all of it. I love the identity as to who Matilda is on the very basis. She already is kind of a child stuck in the middle, stuck between two worlds, but then there's also the mortal realm, and now that she has established this light friendship with Vincent, like she is pulled in so many different directions. But now, just shy of Act 2, we have the official time jump. We're moving forward, they're becoming adults, and wow, I will say the events that we see just a glimpse of through Vincent's perspective were crazy. I wasn't expecting that. And so it has me really, really excited to see what events are going to be the thing that brings these two back together. As far as the plot with the gods, it feels very, very reminiscent of other like folklore stories, of other mythologies with a pantheon of gods. There's flirting and romancing, but there's also backstabbing and creating alliances, and oh, just all of that is so entertaining. Like, especially knowing some of the events that are going to come because of stuff that happens in Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. It has me even more intrigued to see what's gonna happen with this plot. I'm really, really sucked in now. I'm loving it. The writing, I mean, no doubts in my mind at all. Rebecca Ross's writing is so beautiful. It is so stunning. She just has a way of drawing you into this very whimsical world. It really does take you on such a journey with her story.
Hey y'all, so I've hit 65% into Wild Reverence, and I am really liking this. We had a direct reference to something in Divine Rivals, and just, of course, that like immediately made me smile. It was so good. The writing in this is just impeccable, and like I'm not surprised by that at all. It's Rebecca Ross. She just so well creates this whimsical atmosphere, this fantastical world, and just draws you into it. It really feels like this should be a Greek mythology retelling story or something like that. I don't know what the basis of these gods in the setup she has here. I don't know if maybe they do come from some actual mythology, some actual pantheon, but it feels like it could because she has it so well built out. The personality of the gods and everything we learn about them just feels so reminiscent of many a Greek mythology stories I have read. And so, of course, I mean, seeing as how I love mythology retellings, I am just eating it up. It is so good. But I really, really am enjoying the more we're seeing of Matilda and kind of her being pulled between two separate worlds. And not just because she is from two separate societies when it comes to the gods, but also between the gods and the mortals, especially now that she has developed such a improved relationship with Vincent. And it's I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I will say, because I can't help it, logic brain is always going to be hanging out in the back. I don't know if I'm quite sold on these two being in love, but with everything they're living through, it's one of those where it's like, I can understand that a bond would form very quickly off of like their prior relationship and then everything they're having to work through together now. One thing that is a little frustrating, but it's frustrating in that it makes perfect sense for the world, for this mythology, the pantheon of gods that Ross has created, is how Matilda is so hesitant to be truthful, not only to Vincent, but to like her other allies, to the other gods. I mean, even with herself at times, she is just so used to having to constantly be on guard, constantly be protecting herself, because the gods are so willing to trick and cheat and backstab. She really does have such a difficult time knowing who she can trust, and even if she maybe
trust one person. She can't chance telling them something and then it getting out. She can't chance somebody overhearing it. It's frustrating, and it leads to not necessarily miscommunication, but misunderstanding of intentions or an expected outcome. And so that's a little frustrating. Even still, like, it is so good. I'm really liking everything we're seeing around the creation of her character and how she's being built out. It's really, really great. And now, as far as the plot goes, I will say, I mean, I didn't necessarily know what the plot was really going to be going into this. I mean, I knew we were following Matilda and Vincent. I knew they had an established friendship as children, and like something was going to bring them back together as adults. That's pretty much all I had going in. And from where the book starts to now, I mean, it really seemed like in the beginning things were going to be so much more focused on the gods. And yes, there is a lot of that in the world, but like the actual plot feels like it really has been more focusing on the mortals, the problems that Vincent is dealing with, and how Matilda is getting wrapped up in it. But we're starting to reach the point where we're seeing the overlap between the issues between the mortals as well as the issues with the gods. And it has me really invested, but also like really questioning what's going to happen with this plot. Where are we going to go from here? I am so nervous. I have some suspicions as to how this book might wrap out because it is set in the same universe as the Letters of Enchantment. It's really funny too that even though this is set in that same universe of the Letters of Enchantment, it almost has a feel more similar to her Elements of Cadence series, A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. The vibes of the story feel more like that duology, even though it's the same world of the Letters of Enchantment. It is definitely slow moving. I mean, main plot, once it really starts going, I think we've only covered a few days at this point. And yet, I mean, it's probably been like 200-ish pages. So it is very meandering, but I think that adds into this whimsical mythology feel of it. And it also just matches with this folklore feeling that Ross's writing evokes. I'm very intrigued to see, though, how other people are going to feel about this. Good morning, friends. So I officially finished out Wild Reverence yesterday, and I gotta say, like, the last 10% of this book was so damn good. I did not want to stop reading it. I was like cooking dinner and had my Kobo in one hand and was just like occasionally checking the vegetables to make sure they didn't burn because I didn't want to stop. It was amazing. That, like I said, that final little section, so good. Exactly the kind of story I want when it's a romance between an immortal and a human. It causes that angst. It gives you some pining. It had a little bit of the writing element that Rebecca Ross is so talented with. There were so many references to Divine Rivals, to Iris and Roman. Just, I loved it. It was so good. It was so good. In the end, to close out this book, I really enjoyed it across the board. I will say it is definitely a very slow-moving mythology-based story. I think if you really enjoy a mythology story, you're going to like this. I didn't realize it whilst reading it, but when looking back on my thoughts, I think I kind of felt similar to this as I did with like Clytemnestra by Constanza Casati. There was really great character work done in Matilda, and I did really enjoy the plot. It had some heavier moments. I mean, there is a bit of a war that breaks out, and there's a lot of battling between the immortals, whether that is, you know, like forging alliances, breaking alliances, betrayal, trickery, all of that kind of stuff. And it was so good. But with that, the pacing is definitely very slow. I mean, we really do see Matilda from like when she is born to, technically speaking, like the end of her life, which even then is kind of a complicated way to say that. But so this book does span a lot of time, and it did drag for me in points. Plus, once we hit, I'd probably say like the 70-ish% mark, I felt like I knew a lot of where the plot was going. By that point, there wasn't anything that really surprised me. There was a lot of buildup in the first half and a lot of setting the stage for some of the events to come. And while you're watching everything play out, it feels like all of this stuff is very separate. But like I said, once I hit around the 70% mark, my brain just started going into overdrive, and I was seeing how all of this was going to connect together. So we were going to hit to the ending. And I'm not necessarily knocking that, but like, I do think if Ross would have caught me off guard with
was something it might have improved my enjoyment a little bit. Even still, I mean, it made sense. I could understand why the story flowed that way because it was exactly what I was expecting, and she had laid the groundwork to reach that point very well. I would definitely say, I remember when Divine Rivals came out, and I believe it was pitched as YA. Honestly, I do think it's new adult. This one is kind of the same thing. It starts feeling a little bit more YA, probably because the main characters are children. But towards the end of the book, it does feel more adult. It has some heavier themes going on. It does have a little bit of spice. It's not explicitly graphic. Like, I wouldn't really call it smutty, but it does have some spice on page. And some of the fight scenes as well do get kind of gory, kind of rough. I probably would have liked if we could have seen more of Matilda and, I almost said Roman, Matilda and Vincent interacting directly on page. Like, we do have good number of scenes where we see a connection forming between the two of them. I would have liked more of that, but because there is so much going on in the plot, it felt like there just wasn't time for it. But even without seeing them bonding more, everything in Rebecca Ross's writing is just so romantic. There is so much longing, so much pining. You can feel the connection between them when they're apart so strongly. And like I said, there are a few letter moments which she just does so well. So even though I did have a few issues with this across the board, I really enjoyed it. I'd probably put this at a 4.5 stars. Like, it is so good. Rebecca Ross's writing is just so good. Like I said in one of my prior updates, I'm going to be very intrigued to see other people's reactions to this because it does have a higher fantasy, more mythology-based feel in comparison to the prior books in the series. Well, technically, actually, this is a prequel, so like the following books in the series, you know what I mean. Definitely going to get my hands on a copy as soon as possible so I can transfer my annotations. There was also it's such a throwaway thing, but there's an element with Vincent's brother that starts off around the halfway point and then it kind of comes back around at the end, and I really liked that. I would love to see more of Nate's story because of that. That just very unexpected, but I really enjoyed it. I liked that being slid in there. Rebecca Ross continues to be one of my favorite authors. I trust her to write a book that is so good. So on that note, that is officially it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave a writing emoji in the comments down below. I have links to all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!